I know. In the last episode I said, have your process planned out. It will save you time. And my process going forward in the original plan was to take this beautifully stained walls and put them right here. We talked about it. We talked about how we were going to do it and how those tabs sticking out were going to be so helpful. Then we were going to put the back on. We're going to put the front on. But that's not happening today. Not because I'm not ready for this, but this came in a week and a half early. Drop axle, trailer brakes, and all the fixings. So as you could probably imagine, having this area open will make installing each side of this way easier. So my process this afternoon, put that on there, put that on there. After I put all that in there and in there, then we will install it using those U-bolts. So that's what we're going to do. But first, I'm going to take a break. Yeah, there we go. That's a new axle, 3,500 pound, with a set of electric trailer brakes. Brand new, greased up, good to go, tightened down. Pretty sweet. So now I tell you, my process is I'm gonna hang these walls. I'm not gonna do it now because I got greasy doing that. I've been laying underneath this thing, and you know how you feel. It gets a little sweaty, you get a little greasy. And it took me about 2 hours, so it's a weeknight. I got 2 hours in. I don't feel terrible about that. So we're gonna go inside, get cleaned up, and we'll work on the rest tomorrow. You should be seeing the walls up, and that's gonna happen. But there are other parts to my process besides putting the walls up. Ordering and having the supplies you need, the materials you need on hand when you need them is key to making good time. So for instance, if I saw, which I did this last time, there was some really nice Luan in, and sometimes there's none. And so this time I went in, there were none. I went back 4 days later, they had just put a fresh pallet out. So I know that I've got at least 2 projects after this one. So I said, I'm going to get enough for the current project and enough for the next project. And then when I go for this next project, I will buy the Luan because that seems to be the one that can be iffy. So I know that I better stay one ahead on that, which is where I'm at right now. Now also, if you know you're going to use butyl tape for the next 4 campers, don't buy enough for just one. You don't charge the whole 4, 6, 7 boxes to this one trailer, but you buy them as you're buying them for this trailer. And speaking of butyl tape, people ask me, and yes, I did buy more than one, they just delivered one. I like to buy Dicor. D-I-C-O-R. I've tried a lot of different butyl tapes. I've had problems. I had to throw some away. I like Dicor. They're not paying me, not an ad, but I like Dicor. This trailer is going to be, it was going to be 100% 12-volt solar. I talked them into putting just a little bit of 30 amp into it. just in case they ever change their mind. And you can always add on as you go. But when we're going 12 volt, that means off grid. That means hand pump. So to get their water out of a jerry can, hand pump. And these work really good. I've had good, and I know I've got another one coming up. So I went ahead and bought 2. So, you know, be prepared. I really like using these now. Jim kind of tuned me into these. I wasn't using these, I was making my own. But these drains for underneath the sink. So this part screws into the drain. And the drains that I order for the sinks fit this perfectly. You screw that in, and this goes to your gray water out. So I got 4 of these, because I'm going to use these every time. I don't know what would happen that I wouldn't, but if I didn't, I'll make them. But I want to use these. I like these. And for the price, they're not bad. Then I got 3 sets of 12 volt outlets. I used these on that last camper and really, really liked them. One side has just an outlet, like a cigarette lighter outlet, that you can put what you want in there. And the other side has USB. USB's charging everything these days, folks. So they'll be well taken care of in 12 volt solar. Oh, yeah. So I didn't used to at first, but I now send everybody away. Oh, they really take that thing up. With 30 amp service with a 30 amp cord. That way they can get right to this one has a, I see what they did. Wow, that's got a 110 plug-in adapter. That's pretty cool. So when they get to the campground, anywhere with 30 amp service, they're good to go. Now I do advise most people to get a 50 to 30 amp dog bone and a 30 to, or a 110 to 30 amp dog bone, because you never know. So if they need it, it's there. So I got 1, 2, 3. So I know the next 3. Now, Jim is on top of everything when it comes to campers. So I didn't buy a ton of these because he's going to see them on sale and he's going to shoot over to me, and that's when I'll buy my bulk, you know. But I got 3. That'll get me through the rest of the summer. Everything I've got now probably get me through the summer on these items. So just a quick unboxing because I wanted you to know my process of being ready. Now we're going to go over, yeah, you can't see it, but you've seen it. And I'm going to put the walls up. And you already know my process on that. We've talked about it ad nauseum over the last 2 videos. So I'm going to put that up, and I'll be back to take you through my next steps in this process. Speaking of process, so I set it on the tabs like we talked about. Then I just kind of tacked them in with some 1-inch brad nails. Then I screwed them in. I've only got 3 on this right here, but I'm not done. I'll put a couple more in. I'll put one right there and right there. And then there'll be some that go through the board that goes there. So there's always gonna be some added. Then up here, to keep them together, I use those construction little ties right there. Right there and right there. So, cool. You wanna see something really cool? Look at this. Look at that. Man, I love that shape. Really, really love that shape. I made a template. Well, I kept the skin. And that's going to be my template. But look at Unfortunately, a lot of that's going to be covered up, but look at how beautiful that is. It's going to be nice, boys. All right, and I put my 90s in there. I used to have them a lot longer, and I just cut them down because by the time I put the screws in, they're really not necessary. So they're there. They just don't have to be as big and hard to store. All right, I just wanted to show you that before I put this other side on. Other side's going to be just like that. And then I think I've got to put these in. But yeah, I do. And they're only going to go out to that edge. So I thought I was going to have to put the front and the back up, but I don't. All I really need to do is bring my 2x out here and come up 1.5 inches and then measure this and then put it on that 35-degree angle. And then that's going to cover this back area up right here, which allows this to happen. And that's where we get our 54-inch bed, is right there, even though, you know, that's probably out, man, that's at least a foot, if not 1.5 feet out that way from here to here. And that board, that 2x that we put in here is what allows this to happen safely. So that's my process. I'm going to put this wall up. Then I'm going to cut those 2x's. I'm going to stain those. I just like to have some wood where I can get some wood, you know? So I'll stain them, I'll install them, and then really, hot dog, we're on to some interior work. We'll talk about that at a later appointed time, but just look at that. Would you look at that? Couple of things to show you. This is the front piece. It's still a little wet, but I put that pecan stain on it. And it's 15 degrees, just like when we cut the boards underneath the trailer. I'm going to set that right there. I'm sure it will fall while we're trying to film. And this right here, you can see this wood looks awfully familiar. This is what we use to make the walls with. It's a scrap piece that I had. And then these are the rafters. And I cut them at 1 3/8, and then I took our cabinet router tool and I routed it so it's smooth right here and right here. And then I picture framed it. Like, Rob, what is that? I don't know what that is. Well, that's okay. That's okay. Because I've already sanded it. I put on all of the wood putty. It's ready to get stained. And why? Because in my job, for about 7-8 years, I was an athletic director. I am going to try this Jacobean. It's pretty dark, so I'm going to try to go fast. And I had a cheer coach, who was very, very good. And she is a much younger person than me, and she had, when I first met her, her oldest daughter was the manager for our high school wrestling team, of which I was the coach. And she had another child who was about 4 years old at that time, and she would never leave me alone. I'm like, get away from me, little kid. She wouldn't. Never would. She'd just run around calling me her best friend. I'm like, no. Curly's my best friend. But anyway, I still work with the cheer coach. She's not a cheer coach, and I'm not an AD anymore, but we still work together. And she said, hey, your best friend is doing all these 1,000. Well, now, she's like 19, 20 now. She goes, your best friend keeps using my cocktail table in front of the sofa to do her 1,500-piece jigsaw puzzles. And all it does is take up all of my space. I said, well, that really doesn't bother me a bit. She said, yes, but it bothers me because I use that all the time, every day. She said, could you find a way to make her a movable tray type thing that would sit on our cocktail table that she could do a whole giant one of those puzzles on, and that would be good for her because she is your best friend, and it would help me out. So I thought, I've got this sitting around, and I have to sit around right now while I am waiting on this other piece to dry. So in between my camper work, trying to make some nice people, some nice friends happy. So that's all I'm doing right now. I thought I'd share it with you. Just one of those things. It's not part of that process, but part of the process of being a nice person. I'm working on that. I might show you this when I'm done. While Curly was sleeping, I built dinette seating. I went with the way we did that the last time. Remember how cool that was? I really like that. If I'd slow down, you could take a look. And this side, I like it. It'll all be same stain. And while Curly was sleeping, I got 20 sticks of roof edge rail, better known as not J-rail. They're the only place around that I know that has it. Max Aluminum, MACS in Bristow. I'm not ready to show you the skin because he brought me a bunch of skin for this camper, and it is awesome. He made a brand new tool just to cut or to break the metal for us. I'm going to show that to you probably in the next video. I just don't have it set up right now. Process. All right, so now you know that we know where these are set. Those will not change from where they're at right now. Then, next step, let's go to the back, is we put that 54-inch bed. So this is probably about 46 from there to there, just the way it came out. Well, we're going to be probably about right there height-wise. And so we're going to end up probably right around in there. And then, we do that because we want to know, where does the kitchen go? How big can I make the kitchen? So it's going to be a good-sized kitchen. And then we've got those really cool, on an angle, isn't that just great? Hand puppets. On an angle cabinet. So next step is I'm just going to measure for the bed, and then I'll put the bed rail there. I'll put the bed rail there. I won't put the bed in yet, but that will tell me how big this cabinet can be once I measure for the door. So from just an inch or two on the other side of the door, all the way to the 54-inch bed, that will be floor-to-ceiling cabinet. So that's the process there. Don't look at that skin. Yeah, I had to move everything out of the way, but there's a little line in there. That's where the door starts. I'm going to measure all the way over the door. I'm not going to cut it out yet, but I am. There's the door frame, so I have an exact measurement. And then once that door, I have it measured, then I know exactly where I can build my cabinet. And I know exactly where I can build my kitchen. Unless something happens. Like today, Max came by and he brought my roof. I got more beautiful tape today
from Dicor. Remember, that's the brand I use. I like it. They don't pay me. Got a couple of sinks. And because this is a 12-volt solar off-grid star vent. That's the third one of these that I've used. 129 bucks. 6 speeds forward and back. Just really nice. I like it. Of course, they should give me one. I don't know. But I like it. And that runs off the 12 volt. And there is our solar panel from Renology. Okay. Now you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go do it. And Curly's doing what Curly does.